everybody. I'm sitting here with Dolores Collins, a retired Master Sergeant in the Army who also was a nurse on Fitzsimons, the former Army Medical Base in Aurora. And I had the pleasure of meeting her recently at a meeting and hearing a little bit about her story. And I asked her if she would just share with us just a little bit about her time in the Army and one of the coolest aspects of, I think, our history in America, her time as a nurse to President Eisenhower, and when he had a heart attack and convalescence in 1955 on Fitzsimons. So, Dolores, it's such a pleasure to have you here today. Thanks for making time to talk with me. Tell us a little bit about you. Where were you born?
I was born in West Virginia, and Faraday, and then I graduated from high school, and I lived in, I went to school in Beckley, West Virginia as a nurse when I graduated from high school.
So did you go into nursing school before you went into the Army?
Yes.
Okay. And then what made you decide to go in the Army?
Well, I saw a sign say, Uncle Sam wants you, and that's when I went in, and I joined the Army.
Wow. And you were immediately sent to Colorado after you finished the Army training?
Yes, after
Okay.
basic training.
All right. So they sent you out here, and you actually lived on Fitzsimons before you bought your home.
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
Gotcha. So what was your thoughts when you first came out here from West Virginia to Colorado?
Well, there was no tall buildings at all. There was the only tall buildings when I got off the train. Before I got off the train, the conductor told me, he said, look out the window and you can see Fitzsimons from Union Station.
Right, right.
And I looked out the window and I saw Fitzsimons.
Oh, wow.
And that was all the way downtown.
Yeah, I bet. Well, Building 500, I think at the time was probably the biggest building in Colorado at the time, right?
It was.
And you were here during that time, which is amazing. I just love history, and I love not just like looking back on history, but how it relates to today.
Yes.
And so you got here, and you got to Fitzsimons, and you were a nurse out there, and then one day in 1955, all of a sudden, President Eisenhower is brought to the Fitzsimons Army Medical Base.
Yes, he was doing golf up in the mountains, and he started having a heart attack, and he came down. The airplane went up. My husband, I was married at that time,
Okay.
and he came down in the airplane, and they landed right at Fitzsimons.
They landed on Fitzsimons?
On Fitzsimons.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, they landed, because they had a big place,
Okay.
Cement
Right.
for the plane to land.
Okay.
And my husband brought him in.
Your husband brought the president in?
Uh-huh.
He flew him in?
No,
Okay.
he got him off the plane.
I see.
And brought him into the hospital.
Okay. Gotcha. So he worked on Fitzsimons as well.
Right.
Okay. Is that how you all
He
met?
was an MP.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is that how you met your husband?
Yes.
Okay. At Fitzsimons?
Right.
Oh, that's very cool. So now take us back to 1955. President Eisenhower is being cared for at Fitzsimons for his heart attack and associated sickness and illness. What was that like for you?
It was beautiful because he was so nice, but he, being sick like he was, that's, I had to take care of him and give him whatever he needed and make his bed and do everything we had to do for him.
Right.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
And his wife, Mamie, was there.
Is that right?
Yeah, she was sitting beside him.
How was she?
She was very nice.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get much chance to talk with both President Eisenhower and Mamie?
Not too much, because all we had to do was go in and take care of him and, as much as possible to
Right.
get him get out.
Gotcha. Do you recall any conversations you did have with the president?
Yes, I told him to. The only thing I had was a napkin
Mm-hmm.
that I had from the mess hall, and I took the napkin and I asked President Eisenhower could he write something down for me,
Right.
and he wrote down how I took care of him and I did a good job, and then he he signed it and gave it back to me, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And because I had never been with no president before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I went to the barracks to tell everybody that I had this paper from the president. And what happened is, when I went to work, somebody stole it. But they
I'm so
couldn't
sorry
take
that
it away
happened.
from my mind.
That's
so-
right. That's right. They couldn't
so-
take it away from you.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Well, somebody has it out there somewhere, and if you're watching, we want you to know we want it back, because that was very important to Dolores, and it was a pretty cool keepsake for her and for history to have that from President Eisenhower. Are there any other moments you remember as a nurse during the president's stay that really stood out, whether it was just being there and something that happened, or other conversations that you were able to overhear or perhaps be in the room for?
No.
Okay.
It was just that one time that I had, when I took her.
Gotcha. Now he was there for quite a while, right?
I know,
for a
but-
few months, right?
Yeah, but it was more than one nurse.
Yeah. So it was
It was-
multiple nurses.
yeah.
So you kind of traded off shifts
Right.
and everything.
Right.
Okay. What was the most memorable? I know you shared the story of the back of the napkin message he left for you, which was pretty cool. What was the most memorable thing when you look back on that time, being a nurse for President Eisenhower? What was most memorable about that for you?
Well, I gave him water, and I made his bed, and took care of him, whatever he needed, I took care of him.
I think that's pretty cool. Not many people can say they had an opportunity to care for the President of the United States, and especially President Eisenhower back in 1955. And for folks who are watching, Dolores Collins here retired as a Master Sergeant, an E8 in the Army as a nurse. She served from 1953 until 1991, which in and of itself is pretty amazing. And we thank you, Dolores, for your service to our country, not just our service to our President Eisenhower, but service to our country. We greatly appreciate you. And I wanted to capture some of this because I thought it would be pretty cool to be able to share a little bit of your story, and for folks to see and hear from someone who served our country as a nurse and had the opportunity to also care for our president. So, any other thoughts you want to share with folks
Well,
before we wrap
I
up?
went all over. I went to Fort Lewis, Washington, and I went to Tokyo, Japan,
Mhm.
and I served over there for 2 years. And I went to William Beaumont,
Texas.
Texas.
Right.
Yes. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I had
And
a
you
good-
also had an opportunity to go around with Colin Powell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Colin Powell took us all over the South Denver, and when the roads were up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that was that the 80s or early 90s?
I think it was in the 80s.
Yeah. That had to be a pretty cool experience as well.
It was.
Yeah. What'd you think about Colin Powell?
He was very nice.
Yeah.
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 He was at my mother's house, and I didn't know it.
Oh wow.
And my mother called me and she asked me, would I please come over there? So I thought she was sick. So I was gonna go, and she said, make sure you're dressed and everything. And I said, okay. So I went over there, and Colin Powell was in the living room. And I saw this great big limousine sitting in front of white limousine sitting in front of my mother's house, and when I opened the door, Colin Powell was standing right there, and he gave me a big hug and all, and I appreciate it.
That is pretty cool. I have to say that I'm a Navy veteran myself, served our country for 5 years, not nearly as many years as you, Dolores, but when I look back over the history of our country and the men and women who I admired, Colin Powell is definitely one of those individuals whose service and character and integrity I've always admired and have sought to emulate some of those qualities in myself. So I can only imagine what it was like to spend time with Colin Powell and again to care for President Eisenhower. Again, I just want to thank you for making time to share a little bit of your story for folks to hear and see you because believe it or not, this is a part of American history. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Yes, go ahead.
I also went to but I enjoyed it, and I rode with, I met, the people that I met was Lena Horne,
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Cab Calloway,
Yeah.
President Obama, I met him, and I met President Eisenhower, and also what's his name?
Which one?
The minister, one that died.
Oh gosh.
Reverend-
The minister that died recently?
No, long time ago.
Okay. Martin Luther King?
Martin Luther King.
Yeah. Okay.
I met him,
Oh wow.
and he preached at our church,
Which church is this?
Mount View Boulevard Presbyterian Church.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And 86 years old
Yes.
now today. When's your birthday?
January 22nd,
All right.
33.
1933.
Yes.
Thank you, Dolores. Again, Master Sergeant retired Dolores Collins, giving us a little bit of American history. What a cool experience. Hope you enjoyed the time watching, and we'll see you soon, folks. Have a good day.
Bye.